Greetings, cocktail aficionados. It's John Moser with another edition of Cocktails Out of Quarantine. And today I am delighted to show you how to make a drink called the Zombie. The Zombie has a very interesting backstory to it. It was the invention of legendary bar owner and entrepreneur Ernest Gantt. And if you haven't heard the name Ernest Gantt, you may be more familiar with his more famous name, Don Beach, because Ernest Gantt went by Don Beach and he'd opened his famous Don the Beachcombers bar and restaurant in 1933. And in 1934, an out-of-town businessman came in. It was early in the afternoon, and he was nursing a really bad hangover. And he said, "Can you make me something for this hangover? I've got a business meeting this afternoon and I have to make it through it." So Don threw together some ingredients and served it to him. He enjoyed it very much. He went off, and the next day he came back and he said, "Wow, that was a great drink. Unfortunately, it had me like a zombie the whole rest of the day." And so the name obviously stuck, and it became a legend at Don the Beachcombers. Don the Beachcombers, by the way, was open until 2018. It was really a pioneering institution in the tiki bar craze that swept the United States in the middle of the 20th century. And in fact, the Zombie became one of the signature drinks. And the house policy, though, was under no circumstances could you have more than two of them. My warning, this is a very potent drink. It's the most potent drink that I have featured on this show. It's got a whole 4 ounces of booze in it, and one of those ounces is 151 proof. So be careful with this one, or you will become among the walking dead. So here's what you're gonna need in order to make the Zombie. The Zombie is a rum drink. In fact, it features 3 different kinds of rum. Jamaican rum, Puerto Rican gold rum is what the recipe calls for. Didn't have any of that where I shop, so I got some Bacardi Gold, and 151 proof Demerara rum. This is gonna be so alcoholic you could light it on fire. And if that weren't enough, there is a little bit of absinthe that goes in it, just a few drops. It's really easy to go overboard with absinthe. Velvet falernum, grenadine, juice from a lime, and the secret ingredient, Don's Mix. This was something invented by Don Beach himself. It's sweet, it's spicy, it's sour, all at the same time. But before I show you how to make the Zombie, I need to show you how to make Don's Mix. The special ingredient in a Zombie is Don's Mix. Don being, of course, Don the Beachcomber. And to make that, you're gonna need a cup of water, a cup of sugar, and I like using Demerara, which is unrefined sugar. You can find it in the grocery store under the name Sugar in the Raw, but I find it's less expensive if you go to a bulk food store. We've got a nice one here in Ashland called the Flour Barrel. You need a cup of that. You need 3 cinnamon sticks. You're gonna have to smash those up. And then 2 cups of grapefruit juice. So once you get those things together, here's how you're gonna make it. We have a saucepan over medium heat. We simply pour in the water. Pour in the sugar. This is going to be a really thick syrup. A 1-to-1 ratio is always going to produce that. Stir that around well. And now let's turn to crushing up our cinnamon stick. I've wrapped up the cinnamon sticks in a sheet of parchment paper that I've rolled up. Now I'm going to go at it with this rubber mallet. It doesn't take a whole lot of force. I think that is good. And now we carefully unwrap the sticks and pour them in. Now we're going to let that come to a boil. while stirring, right? You don't want burned sugar. That'll ruin your pan, and I will have an angry wife if that happens. Okay, we've got this going to a nice boil. We're going to give it a good stir, and we're going to make sure that all the sugar is dissolved. And then we're going to turn the heat down to simmer, and we're going to let that simmer for just about 2 minutes. And at the end of 2 minutes, okay, it has now been simmering for 2 minutes, so we're going to turn off the heat and put this on the back burner, and we're going to let that go for about 2 hours, bring it down to a cooler temperature, and then we are going to strain it into a bottle. So a couple of hours have passed. Our mixture has gotten to, not quite room temperature, probably just a little bit warm, but that's fine. Now we're going to strain it into this bowl. Get those chunks of cinnamon stick out. And then our final step in making the Don's mix is you're going to combine 1 part of this mixture with 2 parts of grapefruit juice. And this has got to be just over a cup. Now I'm going to add the grapefruit juice to that. And here we go with 2 cups of grapefruit juice. We're going to mix that together. And this is our Don's mix. Now this is going to give us plenty. We only need a ½ an ounce per drink, so maybe we'll be drinking a lot of zombies around here over the next few weeks. There are worse things, right? Okay, so let's get to the rest of the drink. Now that we have our ingredients together, let's make the drink. We start with an empty shaker. We're going to add the ice last for this, for fear that too much of the ice is going to melt before we get, by the time we get to the shaking stage, and that's going to water it down. We don't want that. 1.5 ounces of our Jamaican rum. I have this Appleton's Estate, which is quite good. The same amount, 1.5 ounces of my Bacardi Gold rum. In there. 1 ounce. Whoo, that's firewater. 1 ounce of the 151 proof stuff. By the way, when I had to ask for this at Bueller's, the local liquor store, and they had to go in the back room and get it. So they must want to keep that out of the hands of civilians, right? Now comes, we've got all the rum in there. The next ingredient is the absinthe. The recipe I'm using calls for 13/100ths of a teaspoon. What the heck is that? And you gotta be really careful. Absinthe is gonna overpower just about everything. So what I did was get one of these apothecary dropper bottles, and I'm going to put 6 drops. Let's get this in the frame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Gotta be precise with that. We need 1/2 ounce, and 1/2 ounce of our falernum, velvet falernum. That's going to give it a nice lime and clove hint. And then we're going to use a teaspoon of grenadine. And 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. Squeeze it right in there. And 1/2, as I feared, is not going to provide us with enough. So put the other half in. Yes, so the entire lime gives us pretty much exactly 3/4, but it's a small lime. And finally, 1/2 ounce of Don's mix. I'm gonna shake this up just a little bit because I think it may have settled since I made it. That smells really good. 1/2 ounce. You can smell the grapefruit and the cinnamon in this. That goes in. Oh, and I forgot, there's one last thing. 1 dash of Angostura bitters. Now, we're gonna add our ice. Close her up. Now, you've got to shake this really well, extra well. In fact, some recipes that you look at say to put it in a blender for like 5 seconds, because you have to make sure all of these various ingredients mix together nicely. But I don't really like using a blender if I don't have to, so I'm just giving this an extra shake to make sure. A glass. Pour it in. Oh my. How pretty is that? Now, you could put a mint sprig in there as a garnish to make it look extra attractive, but I'm just going to have a sip of this as is. The Zombie. Oh my. You would not know from drinking this that there are 4 ounces of rum in it, which of course makes this a very dangerous drink. Again, I don't advise having, I don't even recommend you have more than 1. Certainly don't have more than 2. But anyway, have one and enjoy it. Cheers.